Well, hi there from Cord Art, and welcome to all cord lovers. Today I want to attempt on let's say a paracord rubber duck. I haven't got one to show you because the one I had was sold. But what we want to achieve is this shape, and we're going to achieve this by making firstly a monkey's fist, and then we're going to make its head out of a sphere, unlike this one, which is out of well, you could call it a monocoque shape. There it is, egg shape, just there. So you'll need a few sizes if you're going to attempt this. I mean, the idea is that we make this bit and we put that bit together, and play around with a beak and a tail. Or does it go that way? No, it goes that way. Big end to the head. Yeah, big end to the head. So what do we need to make this? We need a couple of polystyrene objects, the egg, which is 50 millimeters wide by 80 millimeters long, or in old money that's 2 inches by 3, that's 2 inches wide by 3 1/4 long. We're going to need a sphere for its head, which is what size is that? I've got some workings out here. Well, it's a 2-inch ball. As you can see, it's a Christmas decoration. So we're going to pluck this off of here. All much similar. So we've got a 2-inch ball there. Now, I'm not going to be making the head online. I've done quite a few monkey's fists online before. This one's quite straightforward. As I say, 2-inch piece of polystyrene with 15 feet of yellow cord, and we'll be doing well, it's basically 10, 10 and 10. The one I've made here has actually got 10, 10 and 9. I don't know why that's happened. Maybe I was a bit short on my sight on that one, but still perfectly good. So I'll do that one offline. Yeah. The one online is going to be the body. I'm not going to show it all because I've showed this process a couple of times in making different projects, but we're going to start off this as though this is the main project at first. So what we need is 28 feet of yellow paracord. As per usual, I have about 4 or 5 inches of extra that way. Take my cord around my jig. I'm not going to do any more explanations on my jig, as I've said this quite often. Come round 3 times to that position there. Insert a pin in there. I had to click off a bit there. There's a guy started up with it. Let's try again. Don't know whether he's going to start his drilling again, but I've put a pin up through 3 of those cords. Now I'm going to carry on for 15 all the way up, and I'll come back to you then. So that's where we started. We've come up now 15. We now want to go around this bar and backwards, and we're going to go backwards like so, pulling all that cord through, and notice I have got a fid on the end of it for a later stage. So that's going to go back like so, down the back and under. Bring that to there. Again, bring all that slack underneath the ball. We've done one complete circle of the egg that way here. Now I'm going to carry on and do 10 of those, going back, behind and back underneath to this point, and I'll come back to you then. So here we are again, just gone back, round and under 10 times to there. Take out my pin, which was holding this one, put it into that one, just there, like so, just to hold my place. Looking good so far. If you notice that the top of the egg is sort of central underneath those 10, don't worry about the gap either side, that will all be filled in. So now we want to put some cord sideways. If you take this as the front, got to take some sideways. Now this one doesn't go on the outside of this side or that side, it goes on the inside. Now a mistake you could do is go round that post and down like that. Don't do that, go inside. So that's why we've got the fid, and we're going to go around 10 times. I'll show you the first one. Move my project up and down the holder. So we're going down in there, down there at the front here, and then to the back. And as you can see, that's not a bad loop there. Don't get into a mix there. You can twist it around a little bit. Bring that one down there to the back. Well, the back as it is now. And then we're going to go up through here. And then just bring the project down slightly so that the fid can come out and go forward. Hoping on keeping this all on frame. And then we come back to the front. There we go, back to the front. And I'm going to go back down inside, and I'm going to do that 10 times. And I'll come back to you when I've completed that. I'll take this pin out at the moment. Don't really need that in there anymore. Come back to you shortly. Well, here we are. Well done for getting this far. So there's 10. Yeah, there's the 10. So we'll dismount it from the jig. Again, I'm not going to show you all of this. I've shown it before. Just give you a start. So we're just making sure that everything is square. Nothing sticking out that shouldn't be up. Probably take the jig off. The fid off, because it acts as a weight and gets twirled up and everything. But just to tighten this up, we want to get rid of all this slack in the whole thing. So we're going to take the tail end here, and we know it's this one here. Yeah. So we're just going to bring those round, placing them in position on the first tightening up of the whole egg. I'll come back when I've tightened the whole egg once, and I'll show you where I start tightening it up for a second time. Be back with you shortly. Well, hi again. Yeah, tighten this up for the first time. Still a little bit slack here and there. Really pleased with it. Now what we're going to do is actually tighten it up for a second time so that we get it to the position that we can work on it. Now in the past I've shown these videos and said, oh look, grab hold of that bit again and start tightening up over and over again. I've found out with these eggs, if you do the opposite, if you go up to the top of these 15, which is round the back here, and just come back, just take that little bit of slack out of there. Now we're going to be taking that slack back down the 15 and out this way. Yeah? And then once we've done the slack in those 15 back out this way, we'll go back to this point where it disappears, going back here, and go the opposite way. I found that it just all lines up so much better. So I'm going to carry on down to here, tightening these 15 up, and I'll come back and show you where we go next. Okay. Right, so that's those 15 really nice and tight. We've come from this point here, come round and down. Now what we're going to do is go back to that point where these come up to, these horizontals, and follow it down underneath here, which is this one. And then we're going to start tightening the same way as we tightened in the first instance. Like so, just taking the slack, and we'll end up taking it right the way through the ball and out through the long end. So yeah, we're just gathering up a little bit of slack there as we go around for the second time around this egg. And I must admit, it's starting to look really quite nice. Now, why would I make a rubber duck or a paracord rubber duck? Well, it was a commission in the first instance by a guy in America who's one of these survivalists. And indeed, I'm honest, I actually in some groups with, to do with survival, and I enjoy what I see and what I do. Anyway, I took this black guy on face value, being naive. I said we agreed a price on me making him a rubber duck, and he was really quite interested to a point, and I should have saw it coming, but he just disappeared off the face of the planet, i.e. on the net, once I'd actually finished it and the money was due. So it stayed in my bag for quite some time, things, just oddments. And then I had some really nice people round to my house the other day buying some elephants, and they noticed the duck and they was over the moon about it. So I sold it to them, and I put on the net on all the groups that I belong to, sold my rubber duck, and I got over, must be 500 likes and loves and all that sort of thing, and it really sort of empowers you to go forward and do something else. But I also had orders for doing 2 more, and plus I wanted to do a tutorial on this project because many people had asked if I would online. So that's the story really about this rubber duck. I did think about calling it a survival rubber duck. A lot of people might have taken exception to that for the people who truly do get into the survival techniques and what have you. So I won't call it a survival rubber duck. I just call it a paracord rubber duck. This is, for me, the hardest part of making this project, doing the egg shape monkey fist. I'll do the head in a minute when I finish this mucking around with this. Now I've told you a mistake on the head. The head is a 2-inch polystyrene ball, and you do need 15 feet of cord to cover it, but I told you that it was 10 passes all the way round. In fact, I've just counted them. Here it is, 3, 6, 8. It's 8 passes all the way round. I tend to get I've done that before on these videos. With all good intention, want to give you exact figures and what have you, but we all make mistakes, I suppose. So I'm going to finish this one off. I'm nearly towards the end here. It's all looking really quite nice, and I'll come back to you there and we'll see where we go from that point. Well, welcome back. I just have been marvelling at this finished project. I must admit, it looks the part. It really is nice. Could have had those just slightly more over that way, but it won't matter. It's what we're going to actually do. I've snipped the ends off, but I've snipped them off long. Just melted them over. The reason I haven't melted them down close, it will become apparent shortly. Now we have to decide which is the front, back, top and bottom. Well, it's obvious the top and bottom are going to be that one and that one, because I need these as the wings. Yeah, these as the wings. I need the front being that end, the big end, and the tail being the narrow end. Now, what I've got there, one of the cords that I've cut off of the back here, the longer one, which did have a fid on it, I've refitted it, put a fid back on it. Now, what I want to do with the end of it, it's worked out to be about 4 or 5 feet long, which is fine. I want to actually gut the end of it. For the reason being is we're going to play around with passing this cord underneath these we'll do the back end. We're going to start playing around with these cords to actually build up the back end. So this is going to be under, you'll see what I mean. I'm just going to cut a few of the inner cords out of the tail end of my 5 foot of cord. Make sure that that's pulled up tight so that the inner cords sink down inside slightly. Just touch that with the heat. Now, from this point on, anybody who's got an aversion to super glue should look away, because I will be using a fair bit of super glue to get the shape that I need, i.e. you don't get that shape just by natural consequence of weaving the same as there. We're going to need to actually fortify them and shape those cords into position. And the way we do it is, let's make sure we're online. I think, yes. We're going to go under the front with our fid along the base like so. Now, having in mind we've flattened that off, we want to get it about central inside, about to that position, yeah? And then we're going to come around again. As close as we can without pushing that one back out through. Got to have quite strong fingers to do this, because you're fighting against the bulge of the front of the, or the back and bottom of the egg. So we've come round with a loop like so. Now the idea is that that loop carries on, and we start to move up the front to the top of the head, or the head will be here. Now we're going to need some super glue, and we're going to need it just along that base edge there. And as we pull and push, we get it just in the right place. Yeah. We don't want to over pull it, but we do want to pull it up so it's nice and smooth. We're going to do another one. And as you can probably see, that we're going to carry on as far as we possibly can up here. Now, because it's a curve, it won't just naturally lay flat, 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 flat. It will take a curving shape. And the only way that you can keep that going is with a drop of super glue in the right place. So we're coming across again, yeah. We don't want any twists in it. And we've come across like so, yeah. Come across like that, and then we're going to have a little bit of super glue along and above that one. And then we're going to bring this one down to it, pull home, make sure that it's all looking nice and neat. Don't get stuck to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on now up round and bring all that into line, and I'll come back to you. Should look a little bit like that, hopefully. Thanks. Well, welcome back. You can see that I've travelled all the way up there. We're going to cut that off fairly short because I want to show you a little sort of get out of jail clause. We'll heat that up, let it cool down a bit, and it's right in that corner. We can do the same to these two eventually, but having in mind we've got a soft core, I can now get my scissors and hopefully just tuck that back in there like so without you seeing it. So that's not too bad at all. As I say, I can do these two at the back here, but we want to go through the process similar to the front on the back. So what I've got over here is about 5 to 6 feet of cord. Should have plenty to do, at least 2 out of 100-foot piece of cord. You can see over here I've still got quite a bit left over. We've got someone watching us today. I wonder if he might be called the Ugly Duckling. He was made in a similar way to what we're actually doing at the moment. But this was done about 6 months, 7 months ago. He's starting to fade a little bit, unfortunately. But yeah, we call him the Ugly Duckling today. He's normally known as the Swan, but at the end of this we'll see how he looks with our 2 ducks. So back to this project. Got 6 feet, 5 to 6 feet. I've cored it like the other one, cut it off, melted it. Now, we obviously want to travel up the same direction as we've travelled up this part. We don't want to sort of travel downwards. So the reason that I've left these long is because I want to be able to manipulate past them. If I'd pushed them in, melted them, there would be a hindrance. As I say, they will go in eventually. So we're going to come across the base of this one and come up through there. Bring our cord all the way through, except for about, we're going to take it to about there. I can see that it's up a little bit, so let's bring it down there, give it a tug so that we know that it's hard up underneath there, pull it halfway through like so. And then start this loop business again. All I'm going to do is actually go round and round, same method, bit of glue after each twirl, and then I'll come back to you. Well, I'll come back again. I've just travelled all the way up the front, up its chest. Now I've cut the piece off because I wanted to use it for something else. So let's just see where we're going to go from here. Said we wanted to get rid of these. I've ended up right next to it, which isn't helpful with this piece, but not to worry. We'll keep that one out of the way for the moment. We'll cut this one a little bit shorter and melt it. We cut this other shorter one down a bit more. And melt it. And then again, because we've got a nice soft core inside, I assure you that I can actually push that down out of the way, just like so, yeah? And I'm hopeful that I can do the same with this one. Wouldn't know it was there. I'm going to do the same with this one now that one's out of the way. Cut it back a bit short. Melt the end. Let that go off for a second. Yep, that's okay. Now that one should also, we should be able to push that one down out of the way. Make good around it. Yep. We're good. So that's the body that we wanted to try and achieve. I'm sure I could get that quite a lot neater if I took twice as much time. There's the other one there. As I say, making two, got orders for two. They're looking about the same. Now on this one, I've put a tail. All that is 3 pieces of looped cord. It takes a little bit of doing. I've got 3 pieces of yellow here, and I suppose they must be what? I will measure one of them. They're not all equal size. There's about 22 inches there. But all I need is enough cord to make a loop. Yeah? And what I want to do is actually put it under these. Now I have got a fid on there, but I'm not happy with that fid. I've got one fid that's got an extendable part on it, yeah, which makes it longer. I've got another extension as well, so I could make it even longer than that. And the idea is that we use this one. Right, we're going to go straight back underneath here to that point there, just there. Takes a little bit of doing, but I'm sure we can do it. Here we come, straight through. And then we're going to travel back again, this other side, up through to there. Of course, at this time it's all pretty strong, all the threads are pretty strong, but because we've got that flexible core, things are achievable. just needs a bit of time. Very close now. What you've got to be careful of is you don't dive down into, what I've done there is dive down into other cores. You just want to keep it above there, just there. I'd gone too deep with it just then. I've got a feeling that's bending slightly on the... Now, here we go. How big do you want the tail? Huge? Or do we pull it in? I reckon about the same as the other one. Just pull it in a tad more. But we don't do anything with it at the moment. We'll just leave that there. Go on to the next one. As I say, I want to put 3 down through. To achieve that tail. On the other one I've just done, this was a bit easier because I just followed down through after doing the hard work with the other one. Underneath the tail, out. You could do, I gave you a dimension of 22 inches. You could probably get away with a lot less. But there's a lot of spare going around at the moment. I'm only making 2 of the... Whoops, pulled the wrong one. So I've him back out again. And pull this one in. Let's pull both of those down a bit to the size. This one. What we're going to do is glue these into position in a minute. On the other one I managed to actually get them to glue along the centre as well. Do one more. Up again through there. Underneath the tail. And back down again. I think that's good. Right. Take that fit off. And we're going to adjust these, so there we go, 30mm. Right, make sure we do the right one this time, which is that one. Don't really want any kinks in it. I'll pull the inner one in now. I'm going to hold them all there now and turn to the super glue. If I can find it, there it is. I've been shifting around a few bits and pieces. So from underneath, we're just going to concentrate on 2 chords at a time. Just going to put a little bit of super glue there, bit there, little bit there a second. But with the other one I managed to bring them in slightly, like so, and get a little bit of super glue down the centre. And I think I'm going to do that with this one because it looks just about right there. That was a bit too much super glue. So we'll hold that there for a second. But that's good. I dare say if someone's making a bracelet or something to do with dog leash or horse harnesses, they're never exactly the same. Right, I'm quite happy with that tail. What we're going to do now is a bit drastic. We're going to cut just one more little bit of super glue. We're going to make sure it doesn't all slip out together. A bit along there and a bit along there. Then we're going to cut all 6 of those off fairly short, like so. We're going to melt those edges a bit carefully because we don't want to burn the actual project. Now, as before, as I said, we've got a pretty soft core. I should be able to get those down inside there if I'm careful. Right, we're back again, and as you can see, I didn't really need to actually switch the camera off. They've poked straight back down between the threads into the ball, no problem. Tails are a little bit, one's wider than the other, but not to worry about that. So where are we going to go next? Now, whilst I've been off camera, I've actually made a few eyes. This was the second head that I made. Just got to do one thing, and that's push that down through there. As you can see, it's good. 2 balls. We need some 1.8 cord. Now, the way that I make the eyes is basically, I'll show you how to start it and achieve it, but I have actually made all 4 eyes. What I tend to do is measure off 10 mil of black cord, grab hold of it with my scissors where the 10 mil is, just fold it down over the scissor, get hold of that loop, which I know now is 10 mil here, or was 10 mil until I let it go, but I'll show you the basics. So I've got a loop. I tend to give it a bit of a squash with a pair of pliers, super glue in that loop, and then start twirling. And the effect with a bit more super glue is that you get your eyes, like so. Got to decide which face we're going to have. Now, these are all 8, except for this one, because I continued the yellow around and made 9 on this one. So there's one eye. There's another. Obviously they're going to need to be placed exactly where we want them before gluing them home. But I think you can see the effect. Obviously we've got to get exactly where we want it. So that's the eyes made. As I say, it's just a matter of twirling 1.8 cord round in a circle, touch of super glue each side, wind a bit more, touch of super glue, wind a bit more. So that's the awkward piece, is the beak. Now, what are we going to try and achieve? We're going to try and achieve this. That's the top of the beak, and this is the bottom of the beak. And I think that looks pretty good, just like that. Now, how have I achieved that? Well, obviously it's in 2 parts. It's on 2 prongs. They're obviously going to go into the head. They go into the head with a cord difference, a cord between them, running between the 2. So one will be like so, and the next one will be a cord down. Obviously we're going to have to make some holes to accept those wires. But this one, if you notice, again like the tail, sorry, I'm back on screen, is just below. It looks like a bottom beak. So what we need, we do each piece one at a time. We need a 4-inch piece of wire, and there it is. Yep. We also need 2 inches of orange cord, 550. There's the 2 inches. You'll notice that I've cut it off a piece of cord that's got some ends sticking out, which is beneficial, because what we can do is grab those ends between our 2 fingers like that, hold the whole of that like so. I've not mounted this bottom as yet, and the wire, with a bit of luck, says he, will go down through. Yeah. Once we've done that, we need to get rid of those ends. Push it back to the centre and give that a bit of a melting in place. Same the other side. Right. I just bolster that melt, if you like, with just a small touch of super glue on each end. Don't want it going anywhere. And then we can bend it to a beak shape, hopefully. Right, that's the outside one. So that's 2 inches of cord on a 4-inch piece of wire. I've cut another piece of cord, which again, I believe, well that's 1 3/4 inches, because that's got to feed up inside of there, like so. We need to actually put a second piece in of the right length. It's got to fit inside the first piece. So there we are, there's the first piece. There's the second piece just going inside like so. We're going to give it a touch of super glue so it doesn't go anywhere. A little bit there, a little bit there. Hold that tight for a second. We need to diminish that like so. So it will accept a nice small piece. A little bit off. Give it a melt. Make sure it's in exactly the place we want it. Give it a bit of glue. That's not too bad. And a touch of super glue. As I say, the face is your own license, really. That's going to be the top of my beak. like that one. Similar, not exactly the same. And we're now going to come to the bottom beak. If I can find what I've done with the bits and pieces. Bottom of the beak. There's the other bottom of. There's one bottom of the beak. Again, 2-inch piece of cord. Hold the ends. Get the wire down through. Get rid of those ends now. Snip those off. We've got some of the ends coming undone or coming out on the other end as well, so let's just cut a few of those off. Got a feeling I'm going to have to doctor this video quite a bit. Must be ranging on to a few hours by now. Again, just heat up. Make sure it's stuck to the wire a little bit. Same again this end. Touch of super glue on there. A touch there. Now this bottom beak, we don't want that extra piece in the middle. We just want 2 pieces to make the beak. Well, as I say, this one is going to be just, I don't know if you can see it, just not right beside it like so, just up a little bit. Yeah, that is what I'm trying to get. So just there, touch of super glue, hold that one into place. Let that dry for a second. Bring them together, like so. Bit of super glue down the middle. Right, so now we have 2 bottom beaks and 2 top beaks. Let's have a look at this. Where do we want the beak? Well, I want the beak. The first one up, I want 3 up. I want to then have 2 below. Yeah. So if I go to there, get hold of a decent fid and work out where I want this. Now I can see the cords coming down. I'd really like to get on the out between that cord and that cord, but underneath here. Let's get a little bit of a sharper fid. So I can see it coming down here. So if I go between, like so, and then if I just have a little look around here, if I can get another one in there, like so. and see if we can get our beak into position. You have to be pretty quick with these because they close up faster than you can. There you go. He's looking okay. And as I say, I want to put this one with the dish down piece of beak just down here. Now that's going to have to come in a bit closer. So if I head for 2 in and 2 in, we might be somewhere close. We only want 1 between the 2, 1 chord. So I reckon just about there for one of them, and just about there for the other. There we go. Got one started. Well, having a bit of a problem with this one. To remake the hole, I think. And it goes. He looks a jolly chap, doesn't he? Right, so I'm going to switch off there. I'm going to do the other head. I'm going to get 2 joining pieces, which will probably be 3 inches of wire covered in yellow. And you've seen how I do that. Keep hold of the ends, slide a 3-inch piece of wire down into it. I actually, you know, if I was doing it on this piece, this would be melted 3 inches into there, cut it off and melt it. So I'd have a 3-inch piece of cord with wire inside of it, and that is what's going to be joining the head, because I'm going to be putting a hole in the back of the head and a hole where we decide just here. Now when we put that hole in, we just got to remember that all those ends that come to here are still there, but they're inside, so you might have a bit of difficulty in getting past them, but we should be okay. So I'll switch off there. I'll get this one glued in, the 2 eyes glued into position, and I'll do the same with this, and then I'll come back to you. Well, we'll come back to the end of this tutorial. It's another day for me. Left it a bit late last night, so I'm going to have to do quite a little bit of editing on this tutorial. Here he is, or one of them. As you can see, he's now got a beak and some eyes. I'll show you what we did with mating the 2 heads, well, the head to the body, but I think he turned out rather splendid. So we'll put him over there for a minute and concentrate on the other one. A couple of things. I haven't stuck his head on yet, but it's about weight distribution really. You'd think that the head would go down into that recess quite nicely, but if you do that, he just nosedives all the time. So what we've done is we've brought back 2 cords along the top, and if you could see underneath, we've gone forward. It's got a pointer. We've gone forward 2 cords into the middle and put the hole up through there. As I say, I made the joiner out of put a 3-inch wire inside, a bit of cable melted over, keeps the strength. And right, so where was it? Yeah, we're going to stick the head to the body now. The other consideration is because of the arch on the base, it still wants to nosedive. So what I've found that I've had to do is, having in mind it's a ball, a squashy ball, is give it a bit of squash on the base to flatten it out, and it'll stand up. Now what we're going to try and do is get the head as far down onto its chest, but in that position as possible, so you can see we've got to go like so. Yeah, don't really want it up that bit, so let's have a go at that. It's staying up, which is good. So we're going to give it some more mechanical assistance in all the relevant places and see if we can get the head just where I want it. I'd like it there. So I'm having to be quite forceful with it. I know that I'm squashing the head a bit, but it'll spring back out into shape. And then we can just fortify at the back slightly. The eyes, the way I finished it off with a bit of white on there, poetic license again, that's just a bit of acrylic white paint, just touched onto the eyes. I think it just gives it that glint. So we're winning. We're going to give it a little bit more along the edge and a little bit at the back end, just so he doesn't come off. And hey presto, we have a duck. Whether he's going to stay up or not. One thing for sure, I tested with the original, was, you know, afloat, but it's upside down. So not really good to play with in the bath. So there we go. That's not a bad shot. The ugly duckling can come along and have a look at them, but I think they'll all be pals. So with all that, can't think of much more to say really. So I wish you well and hope that I can edit this down to something that people want to watch. At the moment it must be hours long, but all the best and thanks.